All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us. Just before we get started, I just want to let everybody know on the attendee side that we're going to place you on mute until we open it up to the public questions portion of the agenda. And then secondly, I just want to let everybody know that this meeting is being recorded. And then lastly, this is a community meeting. It is not a public hearing. So there will be no approval or denial of the project today, just to be clear on that. And then secondly, I just want to let everybody know that we have city staff here. We have the applicant team as well as some staff from the vice mayor's office, and the vice mayor may be popping in as well soon. So with that, I'm just going to go over the agenda briefly for the evening and just let everybody know what we're going to be covering. So we're just going to go over a brief project overview as well as the planning and environmental review processes. So I'll be covering the planning process, and then the environmental project manager, Myra Blanco, she'll be covering the environmental review portion of the project review. And then we're going to pass it off to the applicants to present the project itself. And then after that, we're going to open it up to the public forum. So you'll be able to ask questions or provide any public comments you may have. And in the interest of, this being a popular project, we're going to adjourn the meeting at 7:30 instead of the usual hour. So with that, let's dive right into the project description. So this project consists of a conditional use permit for the partial demolition of an existing shopping center. This is the Westgate West Shopping Center. It's at the northeast corner of Prospect Road and Lawrence Expressway. It would include the partial demolition of approximately 180,000 square feet of that shopping center for the construction of an approximately 166,000 square foot Costco. And that Costco would include an associated tire center, rooftop parking, as well as associated site improvements for the site itself, as well as a determination of public convenience or necessity to allow off-sale alcohol. And that is in conjunction with a Type 21 California Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control license. So that is beer, wine, and liquor. With regards to project review and the project review process, this application was first submitted on November 17th of 2021. City staff provided comments on the first round of review just before the holidays. So in review of the project, staff is looking for conformance with general plan as well as general plan policies, the zoning code, any applicable design guidelines, in this case, the citywide design guidelines, any applicable city council policies, as well as the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, which Myra will cover in a bit. And so in addition to planning review, this project is also reviewed by other departments, and that includes Public Works, the Department of Transportation, Building, Fire, the Environmental Services Division, and in this case, also the Police Department for off-sale alcohol review. So upon a complete review of the planning application, this project would then be heard at Planning Commission, and Planning Commission would be a recommending body. So they would make a recommendation to the City Council. The City Council would be the final hearing body. And at both of those points, and any time during the project review, we would welcome any public comments. For any future hearings, these hearings will also be formally noticed. You'll receive a hearing notice detailing the date and time of the hearings. So in addition to the presentation of the project, the purpose of this meeting is to also discuss the environmental scoping. And here to discuss that process is Myra Blanco, the environmental project manager. So Myra, take it away.
Thanks, Alec. Hello, everyone. My name is Myra Blanco, and I am the environmental project manager, which means I will be working on the environmental review and clearance for the project. This part of the presentation is the environmental scoping, where I will present information on the environmental impact report or EIR process, provide information about how to provide additional comments on the scope of the EIR. During this meeting, I will also be taking notes related to any feedback regarding the scope of the EIR. Next slide, please. So as the lead agency, the City of San Jose will prepare an environmental impact report, or EIR for short, to address the environmental effects of the proposed project. The scope of the EIR includes the project description that Alec read during the introduction, but for everyone's benefit, I will provide the scope here again. The scope of the EIR includes a conditional use permit to allow demolition of existing commercial buildings and the removal of 69 trees for the construction of an approximately 166,058 square foot wholesale Costco retail center, including a tire center and associated parking and landscaping within an existing 19.8 gross acre shopping center known as the Westgate West Shopping Center. The project also includes a request for the sale of a full range of alcoholic beverages. The EIR will identify potential significant impacts and include mitigation measures to reduce and or avoid any identified significant impacts. The EIR will also examine alternatives to the proposed project, including a no project alternative as required by CEQA. Alternatives discussed will be chosen in coordination with the city based on their ability to reduce or avoid identified significant impacts of the proposed project while achieving most of the identified objectives of the project. In addition, the EIR will analyze cumulative impacts of the proposed project when combined with other past, present, and reasonably foreseeable future developments in the project vicinity. So this includes the project on El Paseo and Saratoga Avenue. Next slide, please. The EIR will evaluate all resource areas included in the CEQA guidelines checklist. And these are listed on this slide. I don't know, there are phone callers, so I will read the list of resources that are included. That's air quality, agriculture and forestry resources, biological resources, cultural and historic resources, tribal cultural resources, energy, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards, hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use and planning, mineral resources, noise, population and housing, public services and recreation, transportation, utilities and service systems, and wildfire, excuse me. The EIR, it's important to note the EIR does not approve or disprove a project. It is used as a disclosure document to inform the public and the decision makers of potential environmental impacts. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates the major milestones and steps in the EIR process for a project. The EIR preparation and review process includes the notice of preparation, NOP for short, which is to inform the public about what the city is intending to study in the EIR. We are at this stage right now. As part of the NOP process, we're conducting this EIR scoping meeting to receive public input on what should be included in the scope of the EIR. So many of you will have seen the notice published in the San Jose Mercury News and on our website. Step 2 of the EIR process is preparation of the document. So once the EIR is complete, the city will circulate it for 45 days for public comment. All interested parties will be notified by email once the documents are uploaded to the project page. Step 4 will be to prepare the final EIR, which includes responses to public comments received during that 45-day public circulation period in step 3. Step 5 involves publishing the final EIR, and then it will be scheduled for public hearing. In this particular case, the project is first going to Planning Commission for recommendation, then to City Council for final decision. Please note that there are a few steps, such as steps 1, 3, and 5 through 7 that are highlighted as opportunity for public comment input. But again, I'd like to emphasize that these are considered formal comment period opportunities under CEQA, but it doesn't mean that you have to wait until these particular milestones to provide public comments. You're always welcome to submit comments via email at any time. We also encourage written comments for the public record. Email is sufficient. Next slide, please. Okay, so as mentioned in the previous slide, the NOP, the notice of preparation, is currently being circulated. The start of public circulation was on January 12th, and the end of the 30-day public circulation period is February 11 at 5 p.m. Comments on the scope of the EIR in response to the notice of preparation will be accepted until the end of this public circulation period, and that's also noted on this slide. You can submit written comments by mail or email. Please reference the project name and or file number in your comment. Contact information shown on this slide is also provided on the environmental review active EIR's webpage for the project. The link is provided in the agenda for your reference. Next slide, please. All right, and I'm just showing a screenshot here on this slide of where the NOP can be located. The friendly URL is www.sanjoseca.gov/active EIRs. So the notice of preparation is currently live on the city's website. So once the EIR is ready to be published, you can come back to this page. This page will be updated with the EIR and the technical study documents. And this concludes this part of the presentation, Alec.
Thanks, Mara. And then just so everybody knows, we'll put our contact information at the end of this meeting as well. So this is the last time you can see that. I'll pass it off to Joseph and Lynette for the applicant presentation. I'll stop sharing.
Great, thank you, Alec. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm Lynette Diaz from Urban Planning Partners here representing Costco, and we're pleased to be before the city tonight for this scoping session. I'm going to just talk for just a minute or two, and then I'm going to pass it off to Joseph, who is the project architect. We're going to do a brief presentation tonight. We're going to keep it really brief. You know, tonight's focus is really not on the merits of the project and the design of the project. We really are here to listen to you all. So we want to give you as much time and opportunity to speak regarding your concerns related to the EIR and the analysis. But we do want to just briefly go over the project. We also there have been 2 community meetings hosted by the vice mayor, which there was more detailed presentations, and those are available on YouTube if you want to view more, and there'll be, as Alec pointed out, there'll be more opportunities for public involvement in the future. So we also want to let everybody know that did attend the community meetings that we are in the process of preparing our frequently asked questions and responses. And we hope to have those available very soon. And we'll be sharing those out so you can all see those and get the answers. So we're working diligently on those and we'll be getting those out. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Joseph.
Thanks, Lynette. Everyone hear me okay? Terrific. So the first question that comes to people's mind is, why are we looking at Westgate West? And as we've stated earlier in our previous presentations, we have a number of locations around this area, but given the pressure on those locations and understanding that we have about 68% of the residents in this area are excuse me, Costco members. We feel that an infill location is necessary to take pressure off of other locations and also to reduce the vehicle miles traveled by our members, which some are driving up to 15 miles to shop currently today. And so this just gives you a frame of reference for geography. Moving in closer to the actual site, Westgate West Center here is bound by Lawrence Expressway to the west. You have Prospect Road to the south, Saratoga is a little bit further off to the east, and then we have a residential neighborhood to the north. On the site, as you saw on the previous slide, and as you can see on this slide with the dashed red lines, we plan to demolish 3 existing buildings. These 3 buildings constitute roughly about 188,000 square feet. The new Costco building shown in yellow here is roughly about 166,000 square feet. So our net reduction is roughly 22,000 square feet of retail floor space, which it's going to help benefit, obviously, and be a part of the aspect of the EIR. One of the other things I wanted to point out from this slide is we are planning to readjust the entry driveway off of Prospect to realign this driveway with a ramp that takes members up to parking on the roof. So in this site, Costco will have parking at grade in front of the warehouse, where we anticipate members to be parking at grade. We'll have parking on the roof, and then there's also some redevelopment of the site down in this area where the hand is hovering, where the 3rd building is demolished, where parking is going to be reconfigured for shared parking with the overall development and overflow for Costco. We have 2 points of main access for our members. Those main access points are off of Prospect Road, where we have a full access, a controlled intersection with a traffic signal. And then on Lawrence Expressway, we have a right in and a right out, as we call it. So you'd be able to access the site with northbound traffic, and then when you exit, you then continue northbound as well. There are 2 other access points to the north, both off of Graves. We are proposing to utilize those access points as they are currently allowed. This access point down at the cul-de-sac is currently, there is a curb cut here, and then we are proposing a slight modification to the curb cut at our northeast corner, just moving it slightly further to the east to allow for a clean straight shot to our receiving area and to Trader Joe's receiving area as well. The point of access is a shared access easement that would take you all the way out to Saratoga as well for a 5th point of access that we are looking to keep. We have roughly about 390 stalls on the roof, with roughly 309 stalls in the parking field out in front of Costco, and roughly about 175 parking stalls out in the shared parking area. This shows a little bit of an enlarged area of just the Costco site specific to our parking fields that are solely for Costco. It also starts to describe some of the areas of warehouse operation for our location. The green area here is our vertical transportation, our vertical circulation for members with pedestrian traffic. You can see these long linear elements here. These are what we call travelators. They're essentially a flat escalator that will move people and members with their carts up and down from parking and from the warehouse entrance. We also are plan to provide 3 separate freight elevators as well, in case someone is more comfortable with that feature. The pink area shown here is our entrance plaza area. This is where you would have the shopping carts for the members to grab. Also, a planting feature with seats around it, oftentimes used by members to eat once they pick up some of the food service items on the inside. Here in the light yellow, it's kind of hard to see, but the light yellow is our vertical transportation for our vehicles. The vehicles would be using this ramp, 2-way traffic, to access the parking above. And the field above is illustrated here in the lower left corner. As you can see, parking aisles with the vertical circulation off to the west. And basically that whole parking field mirrors the footprint of the building below. In blue, we have our receiving area. And real quickly, I want to go back to the previous slide. The previous receiving areas for these other large anchor stores were all located along Graves Street. And one of the things we did with our site layout is we wanted to move our receiving activity as far away from the residents as possible. using the building to act as a sound buffer and essentially a screen wall for that activity. And so just wanted to identify that area in blue here so everyone's clear on where that is and how we plan to operate. The building architecture is comprised of architectural metal panels of different color and profile to help break up the mass of the large building. We've also incorporated some CMU, which is a concrete masonry unit of a split face nature, and also some stone veneer to help break up additional masses and to bring in a pedestrian scale. You can start to see from this image some of the perforated metal screen walls that we're proposing. You can see the vehicle ramp behind here, and also at the elevator core. And then this feature here is their travelator. So we would have a roof over it with an open air point, providing some visual interest. And this picture up in the upper left gives you a picture of what that might look like. It's a flat surface. There are magnets that run along the walls of these that the carts would essentially adhere to. So you don't have to hold the cart. It would then take it up with you standing behind it without having to push it or hold it. And then it releases at the top. And then obviously coming down, very similar scenario if you had a cart in hand, or if just as a member might go down towards the bottom to enter the warehouse. Moving around the warehouse, you can start to see the architectural feeling that we're proposing. At the top, understanding that we do have a parking platform up there. Our parapet level is uniform throughout, providing the required safety feature of a 4-foot wall all around the parking field. And using the perforated metal screen to still try to break up the parapet line and provide some visual interest. One of the keynotes I wanted to mention is we are planning to keep all the existing landscaping along Grave Street. Even though we plan to keep the access points, we want to make sure that we are keeping as much of the existing landscaping as a buffer to the development. These two pictures down at the bottom provide a picture of existing condition today on the left and a proposed rendering of the existing trees with the proposed rendering superimposed behind those trees to show what it might look like at a future date. That's the end of our presentation tonight. I think now we'll pass it back to staff and we'll continue from there.
Thank you, Joseph. So now we're going to open it up to public comment. I'm going to have Supervising Planner John 2 run the speakers list. What we're going to do is we're going to give everybody a minute to speak. And if we have, if we run out of speakers, we have time, we'll run back around to anybody who wants to speak again, if time permits. But for now, let me share my screen again. Okay. And John, you can take it away.
Bramble, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. I understand there needs to be development at Westgate West. The project as presented by Joseph is unacceptable. Every resident I've spoken with on the south side of the center, or I should say on the south axis, on the north side of the center basically, is concerned about traffic and parking issues Costco would bring to our streets. We don't need a traffic study to know that human behavior is to take the path of least resistance so people will go through our streets and park in our area. We demand the existing driveway be closed and a continuous wall be built between Lawrence Expressway and Saratoga Avenue, wrapping around the Graves Medical Center. The city planning department is requiring Graves Avenue be closed, but they've thrown up their hands on the idea of the wall, saying there's different owners involved. Yes, there's different owners involved. So I ask for city leaders such as Vice Mayor Chappie to work with Costco and the other owners of the medical center and Sprouts to make sure Costco builds this wall. I know Costco is already working with the medical center. Pardon?
Your time is up. Sorry about that. Daniel Ginosa, please unmute yourself.
Hi, a couple questions specifically for Lynette on the impact. Please be sure to provide the data that the community asked for the last time regarding other Costco sites located directly in the middle of a neighborhood. This facility is proposed to be less than 0.5 miles from an elementary school and is literally across the street from a high school. Second, on the environmental impact, would like to understand what nighttime deliveries will be, decibel levels will be, and have those volumes measured now. I understand the proposed delivery times is from, say, midnight to 8 a.m. So measurements should be taken now, and then project what those levels are expected to be when delivery trucks start rolling down the street. Finally, the last thing is, how is Costco going to contribute to the repair of the roads due to the impact that their delivery trucks are going to have on the roads where deliveries will come through?
Thank you, Daniel. Jenny Griffin, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. I'm very upset. This is only a minute, and you have no chat feature. I would have preferred to put my questions in chat. Anyway, thank you. I went to the El Paseo meeting. I went to these meetings. We are members of Costco. I just had a couple of questions. What about backups on Lawrence at Bollinger? I'm really concerned that this traffic is going to be causing problems for people in Cupertino and West San Jose near Midi. Also, I spent 20 minutes today, Saratoga Avenue, trying to get onto 280 there by the high school, the rented high school. Bad plan to have any extra traffic coming down there. I have 17 seconds and I have 4 statements. Okay. When are we demolishing these buildings? What about the inner Sutter building? We use all of these. Are we going to lose these right now? And the shopping center is just becoming Costco shopping center, basically. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Amy, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. I'm Amy Cody, president of the Moreland West Neighborhood Association. Our neighborhood is located in the heart of the Paseo de Saratoga urban village and is a half-mile from the proposed Costco warehouse. We're concerned about traffic impacts caused by this and other projects in the area, the need for adequate parking for Costco shoppers, and explicitly protected parking for co-located businesses, and focusing on pedestrian and cyclist safety as we plan for more cars in the area. We would like the draft EIR to evaluate the project's consistency with the city's plans to create a pedestrian-friendly, transit-oriented urban village area. 2, we would like to study traffic along roadways and intersections on Saratoga Avenue from 280 to 85, along Lawrence Expressway from 280 to Saratoga, and along Prospect Road from Lawrence to the Hamilton-Campbell split. This last stretch is particularly congested and the cause of significant neighborhood cut-through traffic. We would like suggested mitigation measures for turn lanes that are over capacity and to evaluate the project's impact on the multimodal transportation improvement plan for our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Ramesh G, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I want to make the request that the city considers the El Paseo project and the Costco combined EIR together, because it is very critical, even though they come from 2 different developers. But as far as residents are concerned, we are going to bear the brunt of the environmental impact, the traffic impact, and any other impact coming from both the projects. So it is critical that the city takes the onus on itself and looks at this combined impact of these projects together. And the other thing is that in the previous meetings, we have requested Costco to present the data for the projected growth from when a store opens to 5 years or 10 years down the road, so that the city can take into account what the growth looks like. So I haven't seen this data. I hope that Costco can present and city takes that into account. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Doris Livesey, please unmute yourself.
Yes, I have two questions. How many parking spaces are in the Sunnyvale Costco, and how many are the proposed parking spaces in Westgate West? Second question, where do you plan to relocate our new beautiful big Goodwill store and Smart and Final? Those are both used by lots and lots of people. And I guess my third one is, do you plan on blocking off the parking for Trader Joe's so that the Costco people will not be able to park in there? Trader Joe's has been a wonderful store, and to have Costco come in and take over their parking lot would be devastating to the shoppers and to the store. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Tony Ding, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have two questions. I agree with the previous comments. We don't like this big commercial entity in this neighborhood. It's already been very, very crowded here. Secondly, I wanted to ask specific on the Graves Avenue, Graves Road. So why we want to keep that two entries there? There was a one entry close to the Lawrence Expressway that's previously used by Ultra Supply only for the deliveries, not for the consumer customers. Why we want to keep that open? If that open, then there is going to be a lot of traffic coming out from the Costco parking lot and goes through the Grace Avenue to really affect the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Tony. Ron Tizzy, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. I'd like to ask the question as far as, it seems to me the typical Costco sites that they use to develop are 12 to 14 acres. And this one's 9.69, which evidently is a reason why you've got rooftop parking. So my concern is, among all the other things with traffic all around and noise and whatnot, but with this particular issue of circulation, how are you going to take more spots that are on top of the roof than you have on the ground level and move vehicles in and out from up top, not being in conflict and complete gridlock down below with the other businesses, parking spaces being used also? You've got a circulation problem of mass because you've got all these cars up on the roof, and you're going to try to get them flowing in and out of too small of an area. So I'm curious about how that's going to be looked at on the EIR, and also about all the kids that walk through the facility to school, both Country Lane and Prospect High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Joy Walsh, please unmute yourself.
Yes, I would like to know about the traffic impact with Prospect High School, especially in the morning and in the afternoons when they are crossing those streets. I mean, you wait forever for the kids just to get across the street. Now you're going to have 300-400 cars trying to get out, maybe go get their kids at the same time. I just see that intersection just to be a disaster waiting to happen. Number two, if you have to build this, why not use that cul-de-sac as an egress point right off the parking lot to go into that cul-de-sac to get onto Lawrence Expressway? This way people don't have to go down Graves. Let me see how much time I have. Okay, and why no underground parking? And is there going to be solar to cover the cars on the roof?
Thank you, Joy. Anthony Sherawa, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks. It's going to be pretty difficult for me to put all my comments into 60 seconds. So is there a format where we can provide written comments? I'll be sending these to Myra, and hopefully that will get entered into the public record. But I think this is an unimaginative project that is unresponsive to the needs of our community. As pointed out, we have Costco's. We have like 4 or 5 different Costco's within 10 miles. We don't need another one. We don't need a warehouse store in the middle of a residential area that's going to cause tremendous traffic and disruption to our communities. As already mentioned, I already have pictures of people who park outside on Graves Avenue, take the carts from the shopping and leave them outside. That's going to be a big problem. What we need in this community is more low-income housing and opportunities for small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry Jensen, please unmute yourself.
I'd like to say that this is going to create an impossible traffic problem for us. It looks to me like you're going to have to actually add a lane to Prospect and to Lawrence to take care of all this traffic. And I don't see that planned in the plans that we've been able to see so far. The other thing that really seriously concerns me is the Prospect High School will be interfacing with all this traffic, and there's going to be accidents. There just will be accidents here. This facility does not belong in the middle of our residential neighborhoods here. This is an industrial facility, and it just does not belong. And so I'm asking you just to back off and give us our shops that we use all the time now.
Thank you. Nancy Sullivan, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I agree with most everything that's been said so far about the impact on the neighborhood, especially the high school, but also for ingress off of Prospect. You say that you've developed a special lane that'll go directly up to Costco. But if you look at the internal roads inside, what's to prevent that person from making a right turn and heading right over to Trader Joe's? So I think there's going to be cross traffic up and down. And I wondered if you could come up with another ingress, maybe one specifically that's for Trader Joe's, instead of having just a single entry off of Prospect. Thank you.
Thank you. Art Coolcow, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. I have several questions related to traffic. Who's going to do the traffic analysis, and how are you going to get all the different stakeholders on the roads? We've got city roads, from multiple cities, we've got county roads with Lawrence Expressway. Ultimately, we have freeway ramps with the state. I live near the Valley Fair Santana Row Shopping Center, and traffic planning here has been abysmal at best. And I don't want to see this get even worse in yet another part of San Jose. The other question is, we've got 160,000 square foot building. Why are we not looking at solar on the roof there? Much like that can be modeled off of Valley Fair Shopping Center and Valley Medical Center, where they have parking structures and they put solar panels on those roofs. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Gary Smith, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Your comments mentioned El Paseo, the Saratoga, Maria, you mentioned that, and the architect mentioned, quote unquote, the entrance, it says Saratoga a little to the east. Well, in fact, and because it's been announced by the Saratoga city staff that they're planning on 10 stories multi-use on Prospect Road, right across the street from 5287, where this project is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, my timer stopped. And anyway, since it's been disclosed by Saratoga that they are planning a 10-story right across the street, I encourage you to include them. You did include these other, El Paseo de Saratoga. And while I'm mentioning that, I attended that public hearing last week, and I was glad to hear that they said they've got a new feature, which is a state-of-the-art sidewalk across from their project to Saratoga Avenue. So would you please use that as a model for safety at a minimum? Look at what they're doing, learn from what they're doing, and by all means, include Saratoga and their plans for a 10-story multi-use project across the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Donnie, you on? Please unmute yourself.
So many of us are concerned about the traffic gridlock, and there are going to be 994 residential units with phase one of the El Paseo project. That's just phase one. We don't know how many units with phase two. I'm hearing that there will be 874 parking spots allocated for this Costco project. So when you do your traffic analysis, I really hope whoever's doing it, that you do a very thorough analysis. I'd also like to know when that traffic analysis report will be completed and when will it be made public? Thank you.
Sophia Womancy, please unmute yourself.
Proposed Costco. After listening to Joe's presentation, I've now been properly educated on the fact that Costco thinks this spot is a fantastic area for a Costco, great location and size and perfect lighting for the Costco logo and so on. However, I wasn't fully convinced by your presentation that we as a community need your Costco, and I'm very disappointed by the stark lack of effort. To Joe and the city listening, I want to be unequivocally clear that I find your project does not serve my community, and I encourage the city to pursue other options and opportunities within this spot. There is absolutely no need for a Costco in this particular area. We already have a Trader Joe's, Smart and Final, Goodwill, Target, and Sprouts in this Westgate Shopping Center alone, and that's not even including the multiple Safeways and Nob Hill within a mile. So no, I don't think this is being added because there is a need. I just think it's a cash grab. I firmly believe this project will be a detriment to everyone living, working, shopping, and going to school in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray, please unmute yourself.
Okay. My wife and I have lived in Saratoga for over 50 years. We are very concerned about all the potential traffic congestion that will be created in both San Jose and Saratoga. Costco will be adding more congestion to an already existing problem that will only be getting worse. Saratoga is planning, due to a state housing mandate, to build a 10-story, 410 housing unit across the street from Costco in Saratoga, where See's Candy, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Wheels Work, and other local stores are now located. Adding to all this traffic congestion will be San Jose's El Paseo and Saratoga Avenue mixed-use village with several multi-story housing units around about a block away. It's time for both cities to start talking to each other and think about resolving the problem that they are creating for all the local residents.
Thank you, Ray. Colin, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. Hi there. So I am a resident who lives across the street in West San Jose, just on the other side of Lawrence. And we are very nervous about this project going forward. We are concerned mostly about the traffic and the congestion at that corner there. There are several retirement homes, assisted living, and post-acute care facilities over in this area behind the sound wall across Lawrence that there's a lot of ambulance traffic that aside from the shopping traffic and the high school, I feel that could put actual lives in danger with additional congestion in that area. So I do not believe this community can support the congestion that Costco will bring to our area. Thanks.
Thank you. Neil Stroh, please unmute yourself.
Yes, this is Nell Struve. My family has lived in the area. I'm the third generation since 1965. We live near the corner of Crespi and Graves Avenue. What I've noticed is over the course of 55 years, the city of San Jose has done an abysmal job in terms of really increasing the ingress and egress across the board in the whole macro area around there with respect to residential, but also all the commercial that has gone into the area over the course of the last 25, 30 years, particularly. On top of that, I've gone onto Costco's website and I've looked at some of the numbers that they provide. We figure, or I figure, based upon the statistics they have on the internet, they publish, that there'll be roughly 5,253 shoppers every day going into the Costco store. So if you figure there's probably going to be at least 2,500 to 4,000 automobiles incrementally coming into that Costco every day. The city has done zero to increase the size of the streets on Saratoga, on Prospect, and on Lawrence. So the past history dictates that the city of San Jose is not prepared to take or swallow up this new Costco. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Gott, please unmute yourself.
Okay, my name is Bill Gott, spelled G-O-T-T. I'm the president of the West Valley Professional Center Medical Association, West Valley Professional Center Owners Association. We have 8 owners that own the 12 buildings on West Valley Professional Center. We're extremely concerned about the fact that people from the Costco site are going to be coming over and parking in our parking space. And we already have a problem with the Westgate West employees and customers using our parking spaces. And we think we need a wall between Costco and West Valley Professional Center that will prevent any pedestrian traffic and any vehicle traffic. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare for our medical center.
Thank you. Jane Dean, please unmute yourself.
Hi, your slide here, by the way, says the speakers have 2 minutes to speak, just so you know that. I live right across the street from where the back wall is going to be, and I would really like an explanation why Graves Avenue would be considered to remain open and public with obviously so much traffic. There's no way you can deny the traffic impact that's going to have in our neighborhood. The last I heard, there was talk of lock boxes and keeping those open, those entries open for emergency purposes only. I'm beside myself right now because I couldn't imagine that you would keep those open to the public. And I really would like an explanation for that. It's going to affect a lot of our neighborhood. It's going to affect potentially our home value and just be a nightmare. And I would like you to reconsider keeping that Graves Avenue open to the public.
Thank you. Dennis, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm going to speak regarding the environmental process and the timing. I would like to recommend that you actually hold up on the process right now. The design that's been submitted through MG2 and Costco is totally inappropriate for the area. It's really an industrial design that's appropriate for industrial area, not this commercial district. In effect, it's architectural pablum. What MG2, you can do better. You have done, particularly in projects outside the United States. Let's get started on a real design review process now. Make this project more acceptable to the community and get something that's going to win an architectural award. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Paul, please unmute yourself.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity to provide comments. First one, this is the, I believe the 3rd video meeting we've had, and there's been a long list of questions, many of them being repeated by many people. Just wondering if we could, if someone could please, again, remind us where we can find the answers and why it's taking so long to get the answers. I think many of the questions, Costco absolutely knows because they're designing a building. They know the flow, how many people, how many spots. Second is for San Jose, this is completely the opposite of a mixed village design. And for the Paseo de Saratoga project, they're tearing down basically what what Costco is trying to build, tearing down the Lucky's building, saying it doesn't fit with the city plan. It's a big parking lot and a big box store. Here we are building a Costco across the street from that. And third, I noticed all the other Costco's I visit all have a buffer street along frontage roads, such as Lawrence or the one on Coleman, that absorbs, it's basically 500 feet that absorbs all the traffic. Without having this, Graves will most definitely become that buffer zone. Unfortunately, to our neighbors, they're going to have to live with a parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Galen Miller, please unmute yourself. Gayle Miller, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I have a couple concerns. A, the traffic. And with all the traffic, it's going to bring lots of pollution. It's not going to be good for the kids going to school and for the neighborhood. And also what the impact is going to be on small businesses. Costco will take all the business away from them and they will go broke. Also the traffic and the congestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian R., please unmute yourself.
Hi there. Yes, I'm a prior resident of Rhonda Drive, right in the area there as well, and feel very bad for all the people on Graves and the local streets there. I fully agree with all the statements that have come out thus far about this not belonging in this area that is right along the border of residential areas. Next is regarding traffic. Try going to Santa Clara and getting in and out of Santa Clara along with Sunnyvale, especially at the holidays, and the traffic mismanagement is horrific there, really bad. You've not addressed in this discussion tonight the rooftop lighting that's going to be on there, that's going to be much higher than what the parking is, and the impact that that will be. Yes, the EIR should address that, but people need to know that the light pollution will be significant, higher than any homes in that area. Lastly, I'm ready to drop my membership. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Pollinger, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'm a resident of that residential neighborhood right adjacent to the site, and I want to address the noise and vibration issue scoping of the EIR. There was the question that per the project narrative, the trucks, there's going to be 10 diesel trucks a day going from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day. Plus, there's going to be home delivery in and out of the site. Don't know what hours those are going to be. And the question is, is that going to mean that this is going to have to fall under the 24-hour operation per the San Jose Municipal Code? That needs to be taken into account for the EIR. And then the other question I have is on transportation and circulation. How are those additional home delivery miles going to be figured into vehicle miles traveled? I know you're saying that it's going to reduce the net amount, but those need to be figured in as well. And moreover, the traffic studies need to take into account post-COVID, post-El Paseo traffic patterns, especially expected to reestablish themselves in the timeframe of this proposal and need to be done during the school year, because that's how the traffic is going to be during 10 months of the year.
Thank you. Carol Koff, please unmute yourself. Carol Koff, please unmute yourself. Okay.
Yes, just one thing. I agree with everything everybody's saying here. We don't need a warehouse in this community here. But I would plead to the committee that's going to make these decisions, and that is take every problem that these other Costco's have, multiply that by 4, and we're going to get every one of them in this neighborhood. We don't need these problems. Thank you, and consider it.
Thank you. Todd Hubert, please unmute yourself.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a resident of Cordelia Avenue. I'm going to make a couple of requests for the scope of the EIR. One, I want to make sure that it addresses the traffic impact on Cordelia Avenue, Happy Valley Avenue, Brenton Avenue, and Teresita Drive, in addition to Graves Avenue. and Lassen Avenue. Secondly, I want to make sure that this project contributes to San Jose's Vision Zero pedestrian and bicycle safety. The right in and right out location on Lawrence Expressway, I have personally been almost run over multiple times. I have two children that are going to be very soon going to Prospect High and are going to be walking down across that very street every day for the next 5 or 6 years. I also request that the traffic impact on Lawrence Expressway, 280 and Stevens Creek, Saratoga Avenue, Moore Park, and 280, Prospect and Lawrence, and Prospect and Saratoga are addressed within the EIR. Thank you.
Thank you. Tesla Woman C, please unmute yourself.
All right, thank you very much. Well, like the council member Chappie Jones said about the hotel that was being proposed on Winchester, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's exactly right. You know, we had a lot of trouble with our general plan, and we have it right here on Stockton Avenue at Shealy, planning a hotel in our residential neighborhood. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And, you know, it's bad planning. We have bad planning going on in the city of San Jose, though they say they want to have net zero by 2030. Net zero fossil fuel emissions by 2030. That is a pipe dream if we're thinking about doing this Costco. This should not go forward. In this era of our climate crisis, we need to degrow. And that's the way that we need to go forward. And creating this type of development is against our Vision Zero and our pollution problems, as well as our climate problems.
Thank you. Katie, please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, yeah, my name is Katie. I actually have been a long time Costco shopper since the Price Club day, and I live in the Country Lane area north of Graves Avenue. As you have heard, a lot of my neighbors have already raised their concern regarding the 2 entries into the parking lot from Graves Avenue, out of the fear that shoppers would cut through the streets in our neighborhood, creating the kind of traffic that our quiet residential streets have never seen before, and affect our property values in a very negative way. So for your EIR, we request that you specifically add analysis to this concern and address it properly. I also heard there are some unconfirmed reasons that those access are needed to be kept open for emergency vehicles. I don't think that's a very convincing reason. You could easily install those gate arms over these entries to restrict the use of the entries to only emergency vehicles. Also, you can easily open more entries from Lawrence Expressway. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Kaufman, please unmute yourself. Susan Kaufman, please unmute yourself. Susan Kaufman, please unmute yourself. Okay. Mike, please unmute yourself. 1 second, sorry about that. Mike, can you unmute yourself? Mike, please unmute yourself. Mike? Mike, please unmute yourself. There you go.
I did
Mike.
not raise my hand. I don't know why you picked me.
Okay. Jen, Galaxy Tab, can you unmute yourself? Jen? There you go.
Hi. So I live across the street at the apartments on Prospect Avenue, and it's going to be absolutely terrible traffic. The schools, I take both my kids to school. It's never going to work getting through. Also, it's going to be too many people coming in and out. It's just going to be a disaster. And it's already like that right now. And there's not even anything over there really, other than a few stores like Trader Joe's. I feel bad for all the companies that are in there, even like Taco Bell, for instance. They're not going to be able to have any parking for their customers because they're all the Costco people. And then on top of it, I think the parking that I live over here is going to be, people are going to be parking over here and to walk over there across the street, across the Lawrence Expressway. And I think that's going to be absolute disaster because there's no parking for us over here that live here. So that's, I would like, hopefully you guys listen to our complaints and listen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ethan, please unmute yourself.
Right. So I believe that this project is an absolutely horrible plan at best. There are so many bad things about it. I'm going to stick to the few that I think are the worst. First off, the traffic. This is already mentioned multiple times. Traffic, traffic, traffic. All these people that live along Graves Avenue and all the other streets that are connected to it are going to suffer absolutely horrible traffic and street damage because of all these heavy trucks that could be rumbling through. Second, we have this massive space that is available for redevelopment, and we're going to put a massive warehouse facility that's half parking lot in it. What does that say about our city? Don't we live in the city with one of the worst affordable housing crisis in the entire nation? And we're going to put a Costco here instead of something like denser housing, small businesses, even a farmer's market would be better than this. There are many more, but I can't say them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Tizzy, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. I had a couple other comments to make, and part of it was about the lighting that was mentioned on top of the rooftop parking. Also, depending upon how cars are parked up there, there will be glare facing out towards the neighborhood. I don't know if the screening will block that. Also, wondering about how, with the EIR, they determine from that height the amount of noise that's going to be broadcast out over the neighborhood that we're all trying to save our quality of life here. So that's one of the questions about that. What's going to happen when you raise speakers up high? They tend to broadcast better. One of the other questions I've got have been the project shows 4 loading docks, and actually, as required by what the city says, they require 8 for the space that Costco is taking. So once again, they don't have enough room to put this project in this space. So that's just a few more comments that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Barrett G, please unmute yourself. All right,
Hello? Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I'm a 40-year resident of Graves Avenue. I'm directly across the street from the proposed project. Over the years, we've seen the shopping center morph with basically neighborhood-friendly markets and shops and to something that can no longer be used. And I'd like to point to Donahue Schreiber and asking, why has this shopping center been vacant for so long? We heard there was interest in a gym at one time. We also heard OSH, OHS showed interest in taking over lease on that property. Second question was, is this a property sale to Costco or is it a lease to Costco? This flat out does not fit in this neighborhood. I've raised families here. My kids use it. The whole neighborhood uses the property to cut through and drop off kids to and from school. This will severely impact the health of this neighborhood.
Thank you. Shetty Live, please unmute yourself. Jerry Lai, sorry. Jerry Lai, please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Jerry Lee. I live just behind this property on Graves. So we already have a dog park here, and every day there's like 40 to 60 cars parked on the street in front of my house. So we already have a lot of issues here in terms of traffic. So those dog owners drive their cars through the whole neighborhood. My concern is if we open this Costco, we're gonna, all the customers gonna drive through the whole neighborhood, the Happy Valley neighborhood. So that's my biggest concern. And also, of course, pollutions, traffics. My kids go to Prospect across the street, so there are going to be a lot of problems there. So we don't want to have this warehouse in this place. We can have a small business. We can have a community-friendly small business here. Thank you.
Thank you. CM, please unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening. My name is Mark. I wanted to just support our neighbors here, stating that Costco doesn't belong in our neighborhood. I don't live on Graves, but I feel for them. I mean, this is a terrible, terrible idea for them. Obviously, on top of traffic concerns and EIR, someone mentioned, yes, 450 units just across the streets. If the noise from the deliveries is somewhat shielded from the back, it's going to not be shielded from the front. So that will affect those buildings. And finally, just a small comment for the Costco gentleman who had a 68% number of Costco members. I have another number for him. I think about 100% of Costco members, and we're one of them, who called tonight are strongly opposed to having a Costco over here. Thank you.
Thank you. Elsa, please unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Yeah, please unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm unmuted.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Could you please put something on the screen besides the timer, something useful like the site plans or the presentation boards?
We can provide those separately. Unfortunately, we need to keep time so we can get through as many speakers as possible, but you can reach out to Alex if you do need an actual copy of it.
I understand, but it's just that we're all staring at your dumb screen with the timer.
Unfortunately, we can't control two different screens in terms of doing that. But
Can the timer be in a corner?
We'll work on that to see if we can get them to do that while
Good, because this is the second hour I've stared at your timer. And I'd really like to be looking at the site plan and other boards of the presentation for just understanding the project better.
we'll also work on trying to post those in advance as well for you to view through your leisure. Do you have any additional comments or questions?
I'm pretty much opposed to the project. I'm not a Costco shopper, and I don't really think we need it in the neighborhood.
Thank you. Jen Smoker, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thanks. Just wanted to say this family has a lot of very loyal Costco shoppers. And to be honest, they still drive all the way to Coleman Avenue just for gas and Costco. I think each Costco has a different feel. We don't need one here. And I don't even think that this close would make a difference. So just one more thought to put in there. The other thought I had is there are several people living in cars on Grave Avenue as we walk around it. At least it looks like that. So I was wondering what Costco would do to the unhoused people in the neighborhood, even if they were to come, which I kind of hope they won't. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Wisman, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I don't support the Costco thing because I live around this area and I shop at Smart and Final. And I prefer not to have the Smart and Final be torn down because it's cheaper and I don't want to shop somewhere else. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rambo, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. My other concern basically is about the time of deliveries. I think Costco shows reckless disregard for neighbors' sleep by proposing late night deliveries. I propose the city basically just reject that proposal outright. In fact, it shows Costco's attitude by wanting to have deliveries at 2 a.m. So two concerns, once again, delivery hours, nothing between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Number two, please build that wall to shield us from your traffic and your customers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Pollinger, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the additional opportunity to comment. For the cumulative impact, I know that you mentioned that you're going to take into account the El Paseo plan. We'd really like that memorialized in the actual EIR, that the El Paseo plan, the Saratoga housing element plan that's down Saratoga Avenue, which is one of the only major arterials into this site, and all of the other plans that are going to be existing or in the future of the lifetime of this project are going to be taken into account. I know that that's part of the EIR process. We'd like to see the specific list of projects that are taken into account. Additionally, for the transportation and circulation, we want to evaluate the traffic and pedestrian safety by the two schools that are within a half a mile, Country Lane Elementary and Prospect High. And then on the public services side, Jerry Lee mentioned the dog park. If the, parkers there continue to park on Graves as they do, that dog park is going to become unusable and there's no other place for it to go. And ironically, that is a San Jose District 1 sort of flagship project for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. PD, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I am a Costco shopper, but I oppose this project when we already have another Costco available on Lawrence, just 10 minutes away. We don't need a Costco here that is so close to an elementary school and a high school. Thank you.
Thank you. I just unmuted someone, but I can't pronounce their name. So if I just unmuted you, please unmute yourself. And please state your name for the record.
Hi, this is Xiaoqing Wu. I live in the Country Lane neighborhood. I oppose this project. I think our residential area, we don't need this giant warehouse in this peace and quiet neighborhood. We need small business. And Costco will also bring a lot of traffic. I am concerned of the safety of our students in Prospect and Country Lane when they walk to school and walk from home, to home. So I oppose this Costco. We don't need it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to take the last 4 speakers, prioritizing the ones that haven't spoken yet, so we give an opportunity for the city as well as the applicant to try to respond to some of the questions. Lori, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I also live in the Country Lane area, and I echo a lot of what people have already said. So I'll bring something new. From your plan, you have one ramp up to the roof, and it looks like one escalator ramp for people going in and out. I didn't see a second, and I just wonder, I assume that's because you just can't fit it in this small footprint. But what happens when one car is stalled on that ramp or somebody falls on that escalator? It just does not look like it can handle any kind of emergency that may happen, and they will get even piled up even more. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig Thomas, please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I just want to chime in and say I'm also heavily opposed to this private Costco company coming in. We want stores that are more neighborhood related rather than something you have to pay for to use their services. I realize that getting tenants isn't super easy, but this large, big, giant store in our neighborhood just simply doesn't fit. It would create too many issues. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Craig. Rakla Ibrahim, please unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Raluca Ibrahimi, and I wanted to add to everything that was said. It's about pollution. What was mentioned pollution, but not mentioned enough. We're all talking about clean air, and yet it's going to be a high level of pollution in the area. And I think people in the neighborhood, they don't need this. And it's not only about air pollution, it's also about noise pollution, it's about light pollution. Another thing, it's going to take half an hour to get into the parking lot. It's going to take half an hour to get out of the parking lot. And it's going to take another half an hour to circle the parking lot to find the parking spot. I don't think many people, they have the time and the patience to go to Costco and to visit the warehouse. Just 1.5 hours of their time, precious time, is going to take just to get to Costco. And I think the warehouse is going to be a pretty empty warehouse if that's the case. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, I'm going to hand it back to you. Got a couple hands, but those have already spoken. But I want to give an opportunity to try to respond to some of the comments and questions we've taken today. Once again, this isn't the only opportunity to provide comments and questions. Alex will provide the information at the end, as well as Myra, where you can email them, as well as inquire any additional questions or comments.
Yeah, thanks, John. I want to know if maybe the folks from Costco, I'll give them a chance to respond first. If they have any either remarks they'd like to make or any closing items.
Thank you very much. I think we really appreciate the opportunity, and I don't think we really have any responses to share specifically tonight. Like I said, we're working on our frequently asked questions, and I think pretty much everything that was brought up tonight will be addressed in those, to the extent they're not dependent on the environmental analysis and their questions about the project and such. And we just look forward to continuing to work with the city and the community on this project. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lynette. Just a couple of items I think that the city can respond to, at least regarding some of the permitting processes. So late night use, yes, late night use would be considered. If Costco is proposing delivery hours outside of or between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., that would have to be factored into the conditional use permit, as well as the lighting policy as well. So the city citywide design guidelines do include standards for lighting, particularly downward facing lighting. And that is something that we do look at in the review of any development proposal. But we also have a specific lighting policy that I would be happy to share with anybody who is interested. Additionally, what was the last one? Solar parking. I don't believe that was addressed. I'm not sure it was proposed. Lynette, do you know? On the rooftop? That might be something we have to double back to.
Sorry, no, currently there is not solar proposed, but we have heard those comments and are looking at it.
Okay, so that's something we'll double back to. With regards to the transportation analysis, any of the comments that you guys have provided tonight will be reviewed for consideration and included in the transportation analysis. I don't know, Christy, if you wanted to add anything to that. I'm not the traffic expert here.
Hi, Christy from Public Works. Just to reiterate, Alex, we heard all your comments and have collected them.
We'll do our best to include all those study intersections that you folks have spoke up to regarding traffic congestion. And there is an on-site circulation plan that we'll be studying as well as any cut-through analysis along the neighborhood streets that will also be studied in the local transportation analysis. So thank you.
And then actually one other last item I'd like to point out too was a lot of comments regarding noise. So with regards to noise, we will be reviewing a noise study, and that will consider both the general plan noise policies as well as noise related to the San Jose Municipal Code. So both of those will be factored in to both the EIR as well as the review of the conditional use permit. Anything else on the city staff?
Yeah, Alec, I can provide some additional information. I just want everyone to know that the EIR is currently in the preliminary stages. We are, just for a visual, putting together all of the ingredients that will go into the EIR analysis. I have noted all of the transportation concerns. Just for some context, and this is also available on the city's website, the transportation analysis will be prepared consistent with Council Policy 5-1, which establishes the thresholds for transportation impacts under CEQA. So the policy removed the level of service analysis and replaced it with vehicle miles traveled, which is the new metric we're using to analyze impacts under CEQA. Vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, measures the amount and distance people drive by personal vehicle to a destination. The intersection study list is currently being reviewed by the Public Works traffic team. I did note some of the intersections that the public was concerned about. If you feel strongly about other intersections and feel that those should be studied, please include those as a comment on the NOP. The project will also include a level of service analysis and will include qualitative assessments of things like on-site circulation analysis, parking evaluation based on the city code parking counts, and as well as conformance to all of the city's plans and policies put in place for traffic and transportation. And then I also wanted to just touch on the noise analysis. So there was a comment about establishing baseline. The noise study will do that. It will characterize the existing sound environment to establish a baseline, and we will go from there. Again, these are all things that will inform the technical studies that will ultimately be available once the EIR is published. There was a comment on when that might be available. Right now, we're in the notice of preparation phase. So again, we're just gathering comments. No technical studies have been prepared at this point. So those will be available, I don't know, 3 to 5 months. There will be updates on the CEQA page. I also wanted to touch on cumulative impacts. So as I mentioned during my presentation, the EIR will discuss cumulative impacts and will include the Paseo project. I have noted the City of Saratoga multi-use project. So we will compile our list, and that will become something that is considered in the cumulative impacts analysis. If you have any other comments, my contact information is on the slide. It's also on the NOP.
Thanks, Myra. I think with that, if there is no other comments from staff, I think we will close it out for this evening. Again, we have both myself and Myra's contact information on the slide. If anybody has any written comments, we would welcome written comments via email, specifically for the preparation of the EIR. That would be excellent if you could provide those in written form. But throughout the process, we are also accepting any comments. And again, please feel free to reach out to both myself and Myra. Again, one last time, if we have any future hearings, you will all be receiving a notice in the mail, and we'll also be providing any of that information on the EIR website as well that Myra will be updating. And then lastly, if you can, before you leave, please take the virtual engagement survey. That would be very helpful in providing us feedback. And with that, we'll let everybody get on with the rest of their night. Thank you very much for joining us. And we hope to hear from everybody soon. Thank you.